welcome to a stretch and relax class for hips. Hips all around is what I want to call it, trying to stretch the hips in as many ways as possible. This class is also awesome for a yoga class, so I'm going to use it for both. How about that? Why not? So you're going to start in butterfly. Let me start my song. So in butterfly, what I have is the strap scarf that I like to use, and a blanket, or if you have a pillow, something for lifting and padding when needed, okay? And so we start off in this butterfly, and what you have between your legs here is more of a diamond. The feet are not close in right now. We'll do that one at the end. The feet are further out, and this sometimes stretches the outer hips. You might notice that if you stretch forward into it. Can you feel it out here? But what I want to do is the lower back, your spine is so connected to your hips that we definitely want to move the spine a bit. So we're going to hold on to the shins or the ankles here. And you're going to inhale, draw your body up as tall as you can. So you're pulling yourself forward. And then you exhale and you curl back and tuck in. So let's do this maybe 4 or 5 times. I'll turn sideways to show the movement of the spine. Inhale up and exhale. Inhale up, exhale, curl back. Okay. So drawing yourself tall. Actually, we're not quite done, I'm sorry. A couple more times, curl it back. Let me encourage you through it. And then inhale, lift to the top, drawing it up. Exhale, curl. Inhale, lift. One more time. Exhale. Inhale it up. Exhale it back. So now pulling yourself really tall. So when stretching the hips, lots of areas. There's definitely the front hip flexor areas that are hard to get into. And then there's this outer hip area that many people can feel the tightness. It kind of goes into the glutes, the butt area. And I also want to touch in the inner thigh too, because it balances out the two sides. So a little move that we're going to do, just a warm-up move, is the windshield wipers. My feet are as wide as my hips or wider. Okay, and my hands go back. And you lay back on them a little bit. And just let the knees drop side to side. Stretching on each side. So inhale up, exhale over. Inhale and exhale. Follow your breath. Inhale and exhale. And then center that out. Stick with me. I'm going to turn this down slightly. Ah, yes, at the higher level. So now I want to work into the figure 4. And I want to do it nice and early in this sequence. And use the scarf to do so. So if you've watched some of my earlier videos, you've done this with me. But let me show again. So I'm going to turn towards you for a moment and then turn my body sideways so you can see it. I hook on like that. And then I can use that to roll to my back. And I love this as a beginning figure 4 because a figure 4 can be pretty tight. It can be a hard stretch. But with the strap that you have, it can help it to, you can back off the intensity of it and you can kind of ease into it with some movement. So what I'm going to encourage here is that you push it away from you and that you carefully draw it towards. And so play with that a couple times. Let your breath complement the move. another idea is to circle the whole thing around, pulling it in towards me, taking it around and away. And then I circle it the other way. So now what you might do to finish the side off is maybe use the strap to draw it in closer to your body and take a deep breath here. It depends. Are you warmed up enough? How does it feel? And then releasing your foot out of that, roll your way up and switch legs. So figure 4 on the second side. And so again, I'll talk you through some ideas of gently pushing this 4 away from you into the strap and then drawing it towards your body. Passing it away and drawing it towards you. Deep breath as you go. And then you might then move into a little circle. Circling one direction, feeling through that lower spine, how it touches into the ground. And then circle it the other way. And then finally, if you wish, you can see how it feels to draw it in close and take a few deep breaths there. Release that and roll yourself up and put your strap aside for now, your scarf aside. So as we come up, what we're going to do is move to hands and knees and again move the spine. So you want those knees happy. If you'd like to do patting, I'll face you briefly. Hands and knees. I'm going to turn sideways so you can see the movement of the spine. As you draw it forward, and then exhale as you curl it up. So I'd like to suggest that you just close your eyes and just let your spine move as freely as possible. Find the full, complete movement from tailbone all the way up to your neck. Centering out and just drop that back into a short child's pose. Reaching the arms if you wish, but you can also have them back closer to your body. And stay with that child's pose for a few more breaths. Is to move into some lunges to deepen into our hips. So I'm going to turn towards you for this part and bring your right leg through into your lunge and feeling this long diagonal back here. Okay, and you get a straight line, knee to heel here. So you start with movement, warming it up. Inhale, forward. Exhale, draw back. And so noticing the parts of your legs that you feel stretching as you move to different spots. Forward in your low lunge, we're going to lift up and see if we can get into this iliopsoas area. It's the hip flexor back here. And the lunge, honestly, best way to reach it. So you're going to tuck through the tailbone, draw back through the core, and have your lunge more lifted. Avoid this kind of action of collapsing into it. Even though that's an awesome deep stretch, it takes it into a place that's not as healthy for your body. So you want to lift up, tuck, and open your stretches here. Open this hip joint too at the same time. So simply holding that, take a deep breath there. And then a little add-on if you want. If you feel balanced enough, you bring your arms up. And then if you are to side bend, the same arm that leg is going back reaches this way. If you side bend, I take this hand, I gently draw along. It might deepen into that hip. See if you notice that. Definitely down the quadricep also. Inhale up. Exhale those arms back, really open, and then bring it down. Awesome. And we'll switch to the second side. Take a moment to walk that foot far enough forward. And take a moment to tie a bow in your pants. And draw it forward. You feel the long diagonal here, straight line from knee to heel. Inhale here. Exhale, draw it back. And again, inhale it forward. Exhale, back. So please, think about it. What do you feel instead of having me tell you where you feel it? Your body knows best. We all might feel this a little bit different. So now I'm going to have you lift up, and this is where you can touch in and reach into this deep hip flexor stretch. And so it's a little combination of tucking in, lifting up, really getting that area to open. Your joints are open and happy and not squeezed. And then if you have that, then you might play with a little careful press forward. It's not something I can really show in the video, but you'll feel it in your body. So body's lifted. Deep breath here. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, relax there. And so to deepen the stretch, possibly, this hand takes this wrist and side bends away from that leg that's going back. A little side bend that way. I also play with a little rotation in the ribs as I reach. And then inhale up, exhale down. Awesome. So coming back, we'll come off of this, and I want to use the blanket this time and come into the butterfly. So in yoga, this is called bound angle pose with the feet close in, and you're trying to touch into the inner thigh stretch. And so we're just doing this for a moment, and there'll be one more time at the end that we come back to this again. So seeing if you could open up now and complement the stretch we did out here and come into the inner thigh. Inhale, lift up. Exhale, reaching your body forward. So the blanket underneath helps to lift my hips and keep my spine a little more lifted and long as I come forward. So if you notice that you tend to curl in the spine when you come forward, I would say one or two blankets. Bring it up high and let the blankets tip you forward into the stretch. So next what we're going to do is use our scarf or a strap, whatever you have, and get into the hips on our back. So I'm going to move the blanket aside, grab this, and I'll hook it on foot first, any foot that makes sense to you. And take that leg up nice and long. This leg, when you need, if you ever feel like you need, you can bend it, of course. Feels better for you. Maybe play with the straightening of it. And so you have this strap to let yourself back off the intensity of it. So I want you to notice that this hip, put my hand there, I feel that hip really solid down to the ground. Okay, even when I open the leg. My eyesight will turn up. Focus in on this awesome leg that you're stretching. And take both straps into that one hand. Hand is here. And you're going to open it out into an inner thigh stretch. So really slow here. Eyesight up, hip, hand on hip to kind of keep it in place. And as I go, I don't go too far unless your leg, we're going to all be different in this one, definitely. I go to the right spot for me, and then I kick my elbow over there and let it hold the stretch in place. And then I'm going to bring that up, switch hands, and practice bringing it across the body now. Feel a twist, of course, here, but a long outer thigh stretch, outer leg. And then back to the top. And then switching legs, however you want to do it. I'm just going to reach my foot up here, hook it in there, switching sides, and play with the long leg here. The reason why you have the strap is that you can lower it down, that you're not stretching too deeply into it, okay? Totally awesome right here. The knee bend is very helpful sometimes to help relieve the intensity of a hamstring stretch. Okay? But what I'm going for with this leg stretch is the inner and outer thigh. So I have my hand on my hip solid, and I take it out. This is what I meant by kicking the elbow out. Kind of gets the support. Take it as far, keeping my eyesight up, reminding yourself of that. Deep breath. Stretching into that inner thigh for a moment. And then lift it up, switching hands. Take it now across the body. And a couple deep breaths there. And then I bring it back to the top, and we're going to come up to seated. So I bend my knee. I could use the strap, if you wish, and roll up and set that aside. So now we're working towards the pigeon pose, a deep, deep hip stretch. Okay. So we did all our good warm up for that. So we have one more kind of warm up before we get there. Is you're going to take your right leg through into the lunge again, and then walk this leg pretty far back. Your knee needs to be padded. To stop a moment and take a moment to pad that knee so you're happy here. And you bring your hands, arms to the inside. So the lunge again, but this time we're kind of lowering down into it like so. See what you notice when you do that. And truly here, you could start varying off of what I'm teaching and moving into your low hip stretch any way you want, any way that really opens up. But I'll just start to give my little suggestions. I'm going to open out like that. That goes towards kind of a pigeon leg position, opening out like that, and then hugging it back in. Inhale, open out. Exhale, drawing it in. Feel that a couple more times. So right now here in Washington at my mom's house, it is about, I think 10:30 right now in the morning, and the birds are just all around. It's pretty awesome and sweet. It's a really good time to use this deck space before the sun starts shining on it too brightly. And then bring the leg in, and we'll switch to the second side. Bring it forward, arms to the inside. And then opening it out and drawing it in. How's your breath? So what I'm going to do is actually show pigeon on this side first. So I'm going to stay with this leg. I think it'd be your left leg if you're mirroring me. So I just take that leg and then we'll get to the other side following this. And I tuck it in like that. And so the back leg is very long and straight. And so maybe you haven't seen this pose before. So briefly I want to turn sideways so you can see what my back leg is doing. Long like that. But I'm going to teach the pigeon pose facing. So playing with that, adjusting that, if it really does not appeal to you, you choose figure 4 instead. So I'm going to have my blanket nearby just to show you how you can prop this one up, and it often is helpful for me. The leg is bent in like so. There are more flexible bodies that can start to take the leg out. Over all my years of practice, I've never really wanted to do that. I enjoy it angled inwards. Okay. And then there's a balance of the hips that you want to practice. Because you see how this bent hip can easily take you down and kind of stretch you off alignment in those wonderful hip bones. So I'm going to use the prop of a blanket there, and then start to ease down into a deep hip stretch. And then bow down into that stretch. Pigeon pose for a yoga class is actually a lifted back bend. And it might be that you reach back for a foot. I'm actually feeling the tightness in my legs in the morning, so I'm just going to keep it here. And one more time, lower into it. Lifting up, we're going to come out of this side. So coming maybe up to hands and knees, maybe you have your own way of switching sides. There's always this awkward of how to get into your pigeon pose. And so I'm going to bring the first leg through again. The right leg if you're mirroring me. This is actually strangely my tighter side where I have a little more problem, and there's a knee issue thing that kind of catches sometimes if I'm not taking care of my form. It's really learning your body as you go. So a little balance in the hips. You can play with the lifted for a moment, but if you want to deepen into the hip stretch, because that is our focus right now, you bow down into it. Stay relaxed down if you wish. I'm going to play with lifting the body for a moment up into the pigeon pose variation, where you puff your chest out. Sometimes you can feel a really long, beautiful stretch through this back leg, hip flexor area. Often more with the pigeon, I notice this outer line up into the glutes, up into a piriformis muscle that's deep in the butt. That's a good one to get to. And one more time, I'm going to sink down into it. And then lift up out of that. So what I'm going to do is just take this back leg around. And the last stretch I want to go into is inner thigh. So the butterfly to the V stretch. So I'm definitely going to use the blanket and sit on the edge of that so it tips my hips forward. So starting with the butterfly, knowing that you can remain with the butterfly. If I go into the V stretch and you're thinking, no thank you, that's not my style right now. So you're trying to feel into the inner thigh, making sure that your knees are happy. Okay, so there's certain times when this little knee spot for me does not like to be that close, and I listen and move my feet further out. Okay, when you move the feet further out, you might notice a shift in where you feel it. So for me to get my inner thigh, I really need to have the feet close. See if you can have a little action in the feet, kind of pressing them together, and let the legs relax out. One more song because we're going to be here just a little bit longer. So enjoying that. You're going to inhale, lift as tall as you can. And exhale, gently draw forward into it. How's that? Inhale, lift up. Exhale. So now that V stretch, I don't teach this one too often, but I've been practicing it more because I noticed there's a reason why I don't teach it is because I'm not very good at it. It's hard. It's a very tight area right in here sometimes. And also the back, what I don't like about it is a lot of people's spine, when they're coming into their V stretch forward, their poor lower spine gets all curled and they're reaching like that. And I really would love you to find the benefit of a lifted spine and then coming forward. So don't feel until your body's ready that you need to come that far forward. I mean, just check it out. You're right here. Me, I feel it. And with a little practice lately, I'm starting to get a tiny bit more flexibility in this one. Oh, the tightness is interesting. It comes right down here. Notice what you feel. I feel right there into the knee connection. All your adductor muscles. Moment to have a sip of whatever drink you chose to have with you today. I would love to guide a variety of classes. I'm kind of joking and kind of serious here with different drinks. Okay, say water focus would be an awesome class, of course, but tea, coffee, a coffee stretching class. I mean, seriously, I bet a lot of people would love that. And then you get to the fun alcoholic drinks if people want a margarita stretch class. You let me know if you're into that. Could start working on that. My favorite way to do the V stretch is on a hill, a gentle slope, and then that helps to push my body to the right spot. So hips all around. That was one idea of how to get into the hips. That was pretty deep stretches that I chose for that combination. I definitely have some other ideas of hip stretching. But we got all the basic areas that you will see in any hip focus class. Thank you so much.